time, so we want to start this as close to start time as possible. So 3 minutes late isn't too bad in my book, because, you know, we're always 5 minutes late. So it looks like we're going to be starting with the solicitor. The local match will be next, and then the capital for the 2024 budget review. So the solicitor is first.
So I don't think that there's a whole lot of changes. Historically, the city used to have a much larger solicitor staff. We have operated with myself as not an employee, but as a contract worker. And then we have one full-time employee, Jason Check, who's the deputy solicitor. And we also have Gary Visheko, who works in a part-time capacity as an employee. He does not have health insurance. So there's really, and then we have one paralegal and one secretary. There's really no significant changes with one exception. I don't know if it's significant, but there's standard raises, but there is an increased raise for the deputy solicitor proposed. The reason being that when the prior deputy solicitor left, when we brought in a new deputy solicitor, we did not hire them at the same rate. But the thought is that over a number of, my plan would be over 3 years, we would have them caught up. The deputy solicitor at the time had more years' experience in the practice of law, and had also been at the city for about 4.5 years. But I think Jason, frankly, is phenomenal and has a lot of years' experience. He's been here since February, but it's been night and day. I mean, we were 4 months without a deputy solicitor, and I can't tell you how nice it is now that I just, things are. It does
seem like things are a lot more smoother.
Yeah, it's you know, it's a little chaotic for 4 months. We also had a change in secretarial staff, and Pam has been also, she's just pretty new, but she's been absolutely phenomenal. She was a court reporter for many years. I knew her through that in a prior life, really, but she's been extremely organized, and I think we actually have a perfect staff right now.
How much is that increase?
For the deputy, it's about $3,000.
Every year for 3 years?
That would be my thought, yeah.
Just to get them back up to where it originally was? Okay.
The thought was, do you do it all in one shot, or do you do it, or do you not do it? I think if we don't do it, we won't keep them.
Right.
If we do it, I think doing it in one shot is not a good idea. Typically in the world of law, when you work at a law firm, there are step-ups that you have kind of before you reach the cap, and that was my thought of how we would bring him in. He understands that and is agreeable to that.
It's not a bad scale to, you know, increment the increase, so it doesn't hurt the office, but yet also incentivize somebody to stick around.
So what is job rate for the deputy solicitor? I guess that would be the old job rate or the projected max?
Well, the salary for 2024 would be at the bottom on the page. It would be $76,875, which candidly I would say is, in the world of law, is low. But there's a factor that you have to consider, and that is the pension. Most employers do not have the idea of a pension, and the hope and the plan, I think, for me and certainly for Mr. Check, would be that he would stay and ultimately collect that pension.
Yeah, I can see where in 2023 the previous deputy received over $82,000 for the whole year, and our current one is only receiving the 76.
Correct.
I mean, I'm personally not opposed to the increases as we gradually, especially with someone who's capable of doing the job and continues to show City Council that he's capable. He's worked on a few different ordinances I've had him do.
I'm sorry.
And I was just saying, our deputy solicitor is capable, so I could see why you want to keep him and do what's capable in our capacity. So I don't have anything to complain about that or question. Does anybody else on council?
I agree with you on that.
Right? I think if we want to keep someone, we have to show them that we're willing to work with in our limits.
I agree to that, and I have one question. I was wondering about the
Susanna on Zoom.
increase in the budget. Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can.
Okay, great. I was wondering specifically just about the increase in professional services. So it looks like last year there was no budget for that, and then the proposed budget for the Office of the City Solicitor is 10,000. Could you provide some more specifics of where that would potentially be needed, or what are the thoughts for increasing that?
My hope would be that that would not be needed. There was, but I think it should be budgeted. It was not budgeted for this year, and what happened was when the prior deputy left, there was no one, there were actually pending motions where there had to be somebody appear in court on 2 different cases. I was not physically able to be in 2 places at the same time, and so historically over the years the city has had outside counsel. That's really what this is. We got stuck with it, and it's not a bad deal for the city, but we got stuck with it in essence, and it was not in the budget. So when I talked with Ms. Gummersall, her suggestion was to have it in the budget because there are things that come up where conceivably we can't do it. We have a pretty minimal staff, but my hope, my sincere hope, is that Jason has a lot of experience in litigation. I have an ability to do litigation. That's not really what my role is here, but I think collectively the 3 of us are able to cover anything that would come up going forward. But we didn't have that at the end of last year, and we didn't have that at the beginning of this year. It was me and Mr. Pacheco. That was it.
And we paid for it out of general government because we didn't have a budget in the solicitor's budget.
So, yeah, I guess to also add to that, I think that should be reflected in the budget because it gives you an idea of what you're spending on legal services, whereas if you look now and it came out of the general budget, it doesn't accurately reflect what your costs are.
Okay,
Good job.
that makes sense. Thank you for clarifying, and I agree we should absolutely have a budget line item for outside counsel in case that's ever needed.
I agree, we should have a line item for that.
Anything else for the solicitor?
So is our deputy restricted to working just for the city, or are they allowed to maintain other legal cases while they're our solicitor?
That's a great question, and it's one that I take rather personal. Historically, the solicitor staff worked outside of the city. When I came, and there's nothing wrong with that, other than I felt that the loyalty or the dedication should be 100% at the city. I was not in a position to come as an employee because of other obligations, but I wanted everyone that worked as an employee at the city, especially receiving the employee benefits that are provided, to be exclusively captive of the city. And so both Mr. Pacheco and Mr. Check work only for the city. They do not have outside jobs. Now, if their grandmother or somebody asks them to draft a will, I'm not going to oppose that happening. But working for another law firm or working for even independent is problematic, because if you have to appear in court, it's during the workday, and there's no way that you can do that and be 100% dedicated to the city. So Mr. Check only works for the city. Mr. Pacheco only works for the city. I'm the outlier, but I'm not an employee.
Thank you. Is everyone on council good with the solicitor's office? Good job, thank you.
Thank you.
Next on the list is the local match.
Yeah, I'm going to review the local match with you.
Okay, Lisa, that
there's
sounds
really-
great.
There's some differences, but they're mainly staff turnover. There's been 3 positions that were turned over in the last year. They've all been filled. I'll start at the bottom. Page 3 with the staffing. Okay, we've added 2 positions, housing rehab coordinator and community development specialist. I want to take you next to the loan page that was in your packet that says grant reimbursement revenue on the top of it. And if you'll look at the reimbursement percent column on here, you will see that in the local match department at the bottom, 86% of these salaries are reimbursed by HUD grants.
Is that long-term or yearly or?
That's long-term. It's been going on for years, and no sign of stopping. I mean, we get an allocation from HUD every year. The person up at the top is the Love Your Block Fellowship, and she's being reimbursed partly from HUD money and partly from another grant. So that one might not be permanent. We might just switch up funding sources as long as we can to keep her, because she's doing a great job. So all of these salaries on the bottom are also on page 3. And I just wanted to show you the differences there. Their budget is on page 2. And you'll notice that the salaries went down a little bit. And some of that is from turnover, people who were here for a long time replaced with people who haven't been here as long. Overtime wages are a little bit down. And pretty much the rest of their expenses are in line with this year's budget, the 23 budget.
There are no overtime wages, right?
Oh, I'm sorry. You're right. I was looking at this on an angle. That was the salary, sorry. Yeah, the salaries are down a little bit, like I said. We've had some people that have been here for several years. For one of them was almost 20 years, replaced with somebody that's been here for about 5 years. And that's about the only reason for the differences. So, any questions on this?
I don't have any questions. It looks pretty similar to the previous year, other than, like you said, the salaries being different due to newer staff.
And that's not as big a deal because it's all mostly being reimbursed. And that shows up on the general fund revenues.
Okay, does that include the 3 that weren't in the 23 budget?
Yeah. They're on this page here. And I've got their salaries, all their benefits, the reimbursement percent, the percent of their time that's being reimbursed, and that calculates the total reimbursement.